Welcome back, seekers. Today's story reveals the father's heartbreaking struggle to stay connected with his children after his ex-wife turns them against him, leaving him isolated and forgotten. Hope you enjoy the story. Looking back, I don't think I ever saw it coming. When I first met my wife, I was 27 and she was 25. It was one of those moments that felt straight out of a movie, love at first sight. We met at a mutual friend's wedding, and from the moment our eyes locked, everything else seemed to fade into the background. She had this laugh that could light up a room, and when we started talking, it felt like we had known each other forever. Everything moved fast, but in the best way possible. We were inseparable, and within 2 years, we got married. Those first few years were amazing. We traveled, made plans for the future, and dreamed about the family we would build together. When we had our first child, our son, now 8, I was overjoyed. 2 years later, we welcomed our daughter, now 6. Our little family felt complete, and for a while, I thought we were truly happy. I worked hard to provide for them, and my wife chose to be a stay-at-home mom. I never questioned it. I wanted her to have the time to raise our kids without worrying about finances. I thought we were a team, but slowly, everything changed. At first, it was subtle. My wife would pick fights over the smallest things. If I came home 5 minutes late, I was ignoring the family. If I didn't immediately drop everything to help with the kids, I was selfish. It didn't matter what I did. It was never enough. Our conversations turned into arguments. Our laughter disappeared. The warmth in her eyes faded. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? But no matter how hard I tried to fix things, she wouldn't let me in. Every time I asked what was wrong, she would either brush me off or say, nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. For 2 years, I fought to hold our marriage together, hoping things would get better. But while I was trying to save us, she was slowly poisoning our children against me. And when we finally divorced, she made sure I lost everything. Our house, full custody of the kids, and even their love. I don't know exactly when the turning point was, but I felt it. The warmth between us turned to ice. The laughter in our home disappeared, and the woman I fell in love with slowly became a stranger. At first, I convinced myself it was just a rough patch. Every marriage had them, right? We had 2 young kids. Being exhausted and stressed was normal, but the way she looked at me changed. I started noticing how she barely met my eyes anymore, how every little thing I did seemed to annoy her. I would come home from work, exhausted, eager to spend time with my family, only to be met with cold silence or short, clipped responses. When I tried to help with the kids, she would roll her eyes and say, "Oh, now you want to help?" If I didn't help right away, she'd sigh dramatically and mutter under her breath about how she had to do everything alone. I was walking on eggshells in my own home. The arguments became a daily thing. It didn't matter what I did. It was wrong. If I got up early to make breakfast, she'd complain that I left a mess in the kitchen. If I worked late to provide for the family, I was never around. If I took a weekend off to spend with the kids, she'd find some reason to be upset, saying I was trying too hard or just doing it for show. I started to feel like a guest in my own life. But the worst part, the slow realization that she was turning our kids against me. At first, it was small things. My son, usually excited to see me when I got home, started giving me half-hearted greetings. My daughter, who used to run into my arms, would barely glance up from her toys. When I asked how their day was, they'd shrug and say, "Fine," before going quiet. I didn't understand. Then I overheard something that shattered me. One night, I was in the hallway outside my son's room when I heard my wife's voice, low and sharp. "You know, your dad only cares about himself, right? He doesn't really want to spend time with you. He's just pretending." My breath caught in my throat. I should have walked in right then and confronted her, but I froze. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. My own wife, the mother of my children, was planting seeds of doubt in their minds, making them believe I was the bad guy. And it worked. Over time, my kids became distant. They barely spoke to me. When I tried to take them out for the day, my son would ask, "Do we have to go?" My daughter would refuse to hold my hand. I tried to push through it, to show them I loved them no matter what. But no matter how hard I tried, I could feel them slipping away. And my wife, she just watched it happen. The day she asked for a divorce, I felt relief. It was toxic, miserable. I knew we couldn't keep living like this. But what I didn't expect was how brutal it would be. She got everything. The house, hers. Full custody of the kids, hers. Child support, I had to pay. I fought for shared custody, begged to be a part of my children's lives, but she played the perfect victim in court, claimed I was emotionally unavailable, that I wasn't around enough. And the worst part? My kids sitting there, not saying a word in my defense, just looking away. I had nothing left. Now, I get to see them once a month, just once a month. And every time I do, they act like I'm a stranger. They don't hug me. They don't talk to me. They sit through our visits like they're just waiting for them to be over. My son, now 8, barely looks at me. My daughter, now 6, doesn't even smile when I try to joke with her. She won. My ex-wife successfully erased me from their hearts. And I don't know if I'll ever get them back. I don't know what hurts more, losing my marriage or losing my kids. Every night, I stare at my phone, hoping for a message from them. Even just a simple, "Hi, Dad." But my inbox stays empty. I don't know if they'll ever see the truth. If one day they'll realize I wasn't the monster their mother made me out to be. But until then, I'm just a shadow in their lives. And I don't know if that will ever change. Well, folks, what do you think? What could he have done earlier to prevent this? How would you handle this if it were you? Please subscribe and leave us a like and a comment if you loved our story today. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow for another story.